I don't want to go as far as to say they exposed the Miami Heat because, again, it's still the regular season. It's March. I don't want to engage in that kind of hyperbole because I think it would be ill-advised at this moment in time. But I do believe it raises antennas and puts the Miami Heat on notice that this may be the toughest fight you've had in recent memory to get to the NBA Finals, because Chicago has put you on notice that they're coming. And I'm going to say this again. We don't know for certain that Derrick Rose is finished for the entire year. You understand? And with DJ Augustine playing the way that he's played, you know, saying spectacular game yesterday.
He did.
In the end, you know, we looking at Joakim Noah. We looking at a DJ Augustine and the kind of game that he had, averaging 22 points on 8 of 13 shooting. Joakim 20, 12, and 7 with 5 blocks. The size, Jimmy Butler defending the way he does, it's not going to be easy.
So you are suddenly bullish on the Bulls?
Well, I'm not bullish on them because of their offense, but defensively, they can hang with anybody, Skip. They can hang with it. They can make anything ugly, and you know you're going to be in a fight when that happens.
And by the way, they have now risen to tie the Indiana Pacers for the best overall defensive team in points allowed in the NBA.
That's right.
Mainly because the Pacers have started to fall on their face over the last 4 games.
Yes, they have.
Okay, I'm going to step back and put this in the perspective I can put it in. I read next to nothing into what the Bulls did yesterday because I think they are overachieving sensationally by winning 11 of their last 14 because, as you point out, they're doing it with defense and with coaching, with very little offense. Because I'm going to remind you, when they lost to the Miami Heat last year in the playoffs 4-1, they had Nate Robinson coming off the bench, just lighting up fourth quarters. He averaged 16 a game in 12 playoff games last year. They had my man Marco Bellinelli coming off the bench, lighting it up in fourth quarters. They don't have Marco anymore. They had Luol Deng for 5 of their playoff games last year, averaging 14 a game. And, you know, he brings a little offensive electricity. He can do some things, and he now, as you know, they dumped him at the trade deadline just to clear cap space for next year. So just when I thought this team was waiting until next year, when Derrick Rose and who knows, maybe Carmelo Anthony come, I'm not seeing it, unless you can tell me Jimmer Fredette suddenly goes crazy and becomes the new Nate Robinson in the fourth quarter, and I am not seeing that. I'm sorry, Jimmer, forgive me. So I'm seeing a team that yesterday was in the perfect place at the perfect time. As Joakim said after the game, we played with lots and lots of hate because he always does against the Miami Heat. But effectively, to me, yesterday, they were beating a dead horse known as LeBron James, who has been effectively dead on his feet since the fourth quarter of his 61-point game. I have never seen anything like the way LeBron played so hard, so angry for a whole month, and then flat out hit the wall in the fourth quarter of that game. You and I agreed on that. And ever since then, he has played dead-headed basketball. And unfortunately for the Miami Heat, they kept finding themselves in the worst place at the right time, or the wrong time, no matter how you want to look at it. Because remember, they go from 61 against Charlotte to back-to-back at Houston, the hottest team in the NBA, and I think we're going to talk about them in a moment. And then they go to San Antonio, and I hate to point this out today to ruin everybody's morning on a Monday, but my San Antonio Spurs suddenly have the best record in the NBA. How did that happen? The old, slow, frail, unathletic San Antonio Spurs have the best record in the NBA again. Again, right on schedule. So the Heat found themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time that night. And then they go to Chicago, and again, 11 out of 14. They are a tough defensive matchup. And Jimmy Butler did a sensational job on LeBron and swiped the ball. It was a clean steal as LeBron did the right thing for once. He drove it at the end of regulation, of course. He drove it and risked having to shoot the 2 free throws to win the game. It was the right play at the right time. Canceled by a great defensive play. So Jimmy Butler can flat out play defense. All of them can. Taj can play. You know this. You know, and they can jump as Joakim said after the game. They can jump that pick and roll. They can switch it because they got so many versatile athletes on defense. They are a hard matchup, except this time they can't score. So they've been holding teams to 89 a game in winning 11 out of 14. 89 a game in the National Basketball Association? That is extremely impressive. But can you score in the postseason? Again, can you score enough? I'm going to say no.
The question was the Miami Heat being exposed. And what you have to understand is that sometimes you can get exposed by the very people who don't beat you, but they provide the ingredients to knock you off. And what I'm saying to you is that clearly the Chicago Bulls are not equipped to beat the Miami Heat in a playoff series.
Nope.
You are not holding LeBron James to 8 of 23 shooting.
Nope.
Over the course of a 7-game series. It is not happening. You're not holding Dwayne Wade to 8 points in the second half. It's not happening. Those kind of things, when you look at a guy like Ray Allen, 2 of 5 shooting, Shane Battier, I mean, what do you have here? 0 for 2, 0 points for Shane Battier. You're just not going to do that come playoff time. Somebody's going to get off. But that still doesn't take anything away from the exceptional coaching of Tom Thibodeau. I mean, this man is just proven to be a sensational coach. Let's just call it what it is. But it also reminds you of what it takes to beat Miami.
Okay.
If you have size and you can defend and you can limit them to one shot and make sure they're not crashing offensive boards and getting second chance opportunities, you can make them a bit vulnerable, particularly if you have the ability to put the ball in the hole.
Okay.
And not only that, you can also wear them down because health is an issue, fatigue is an issue, all of those things.
Could be.
Kick in. So Chicago standing in your way, it's like, yeah, if you're fighting with full throttle, with all the energy in the world, it's entirely different than when you're going up against somebody and you're drained, and Chicago does that to you.